You know that moment. She's right there with you. Same table, same couch, same car ride home. And somehow she feels 1,000 miles away. Her answers get shorter. Her eyes don't stay on you as long. You say something that used to make her laugh, and now all you get is a polite smile that feels like a door closing softly in your face. And you can feel it. You really can. So your mind starts racing. Why does this feel different? Did I do something? Am I losing her? Why do I feel like I'm trying so hard and getting less back? Am I too much? Or somehow not enough? Here's the truth most people never hear. She usually doesn't lose interest because you cared too much. She loses interest when your care stops feeling grounded and starts feeling like pressure. That's the shift. That's the thing. Not love, not effort, not vulnerability. Pressure. And listen, you're not failing at love. This is not proof that you're broken, and it's definitely not proof that you chose the wrong person. Most people hit this exact wall and have no idea what they're actually looking at. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the one energy that quietly shuts attraction down, how it shows up in ways you don't even notice, and what to do instead so your presence feels safe, strong, and real again. Let's get into it. The mindset reframe. Most couples believe attraction fades because the spark wears off, because life gets busy, because people get comfortable, or because one person just changed. But the real truth is deeper than that. Attraction doesn't usually die from comfort. It dies from emotional instability that starts leaking into the connection. Here's what I mean. A woman's nervous system is reading you before her mind can explain you. She feels your energy before she analyzes your words. So when you start showing up desperate for reassurance, hyper-focused on her reactions, afraid of any distance, or subtly asking her to regulate your sense of worth, she feels it, fast. And no, this is not about being cold, not being detached, not pretending not to care, not playing games, but being emotionally available without becoming emotionally dependent. Because when you need her response to feel okay inside yourself, something shifts beneath the surface. She stops feeling like she's with a grounded man and starts feeling like she's carrying one. And the moment she feels responsible for managing your center, interest starts to drain out of the room. That's why this gets so confusing. Most men think, I'm just showing her how much I care. But what she often feels is, I have to be careful with him now. And that feeling changes everything. This is attachment science in real time. An anxious nervous system reaches for more closeness when it feels uncertainty. More texts, more checking, more explaining, more monitoring. But if the emotional tone underneath that behavior is fear, the other person doesn't experience it as love. They experience it as pressure. And here's what nobody explains. When safety leaves a relationship, love doesn't always disappear. It goes underground. It gets buried under tension, overthinking, cycles, and unspoken strain. So if you want connection back, you don't start by trying harder. You start by becoming steadier. That's the real work. And bro, that changes everything. 1. Chasing instead of choosing. Here's the part no one talks about. Neediness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like chasing a little too hard, a little too often, every time you feel even the smallest shift in her energy. Most couples fall into this without realizing it. Most people in relationships think more pursuit equals more love. So when she pulls back a little, you lean in harder. You text again. You explain more. You ask where her head is at. You try to close the gap immediately because the silence feels unbearable. But the deeper truth is this. Chasing is rarely about connection. It's about panic. Your nervous system feels distance and immediately translates it into danger. So the energy underneath your words becomes, please make me feel secure right now. And even if you never say that out loud, she feels it. Her inner world starts saying, he's not reaching for me, he's reaching for relief. And that lands very differently. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Hey, you good? Then 10 minutes later, did I do something? Then, you've been weird today. Then, just tell me if something's wrong. The connecting version sounds like this. Hey, you seem a little off today. If something's on your mind, I'm here. No pressure. Same moment, different energy. One is chasing, one is choosing. And when you do that, she stops feeling hunted for reassurance and starts feeling invited into something calm. 2. Agreeing away your edge. This is where it gets really interesting. A lot of men think being easygoing keeps a woman interested. So they flatten themselves, they over-accommodate, they say yes when they mean maybe, and maybe when they mean no. Most couples confuse harmony with connection. Most people in relationships would rather avoid friction than risk disapproval. So you start editing yourself in real time. Your opinions get softer. Your standards get blurrier. Your honesty becomes filtered through one question: will this upset her? But here's the deeper emotional truth. When you abandon yourself to keep someone close, they don't feel more drawn to you. They feel less of you. An attraction cannot attach to someone who keeps disappearing. Because she doesn't just want agreement. She wants presence. She wants to feel that there is an actual person in front of her, a real one, not a man constantly shapeshifting to avoid tension. Her nervous system quietly registers, I can't relax into him because I can't fully feel him. That's the part most couples miss. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. Whatever you want is fine. No, seriously, anything works. I don't care. The connecting version sounds like this. I'm good with that if it matters to you, but honestly, I'd rather do something lower key tonight. I've had a lot on my mind. That isn't selfish. That's solid. That isn't conflict. That's clarity. And that's the shift that turns a relationship from emotional guesswork into something she can actually lean against. 3. Turning every mood into a threat. And this is the one most couples never figure out. A woman is allowed to have a mood without it becoming a referendum on the relationship. But if every small change in her tone sends you spiraling, interest starts to die under the weight of constant emotional surveillance. Most couples do this all the time. Most people in relationships are not reacting to the present moment. They're reacting to old fear. So if she gets quiet, you assume she's upset. If she's tired, you assume she's distant. If she needs space, your whole body hears abandonment. But the real truth is this. Your nervous system in conflict is like a smoke detector. It cannot tell the difference between a little relational tension and an actual emotional emergency. So it sounds the alarm anyway. And then you make her responsible for turning it off. Not because you're weak, not because you're needy by nature, not because wanting reassurance is shameful, but because unhealed fear makes normal distance feel like loss. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Are you mad at me? You're being cold. Can you just tell me we're okay? The connecting version sounds like this. You seem a little quiet. If you want to talk, I'm here. If not, I'm still here. Can you feel that difference? One response makes her manage your anxiety. The other lets her stay human. And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to force a single thing. 4. Performing instead of being present. Here's what nobody explains. A lot of men lose women emotionally not because they lack value, but because they're so busy trying to prove their value that they stop actually being with them. Most couples live in performance mode. Most people in relationships think attraction is built by impressing, entertaining, fixing, leading every conversation, or always saying the perfect thing. So you overtalk, you overscream, you overpledge it. You want to give you the relationship to being create. So you overdring them in traction that the most expanse is between one performance mode. So you overtalk, you overgood bigs, that they lose up to the relationship and research. So you overtalk, you overbold, you overbetter, you overplanned. So you overtalk, you overscream, but they lose up to the relationship to being create. So you overtalk, you overdrink. So you overtalk, you overplanned, to being create, and this is pretty confusing, but the likely looking at performance mode. So you overdring them in traction that the most expanse is between one performance mode. So you overtalk, you overbroken, but they lose up the relationship to being create. So you overtalk, you overbrilled, that they lose up the relationship to being create. You try to win her attention instead of meeting her in it. But attraction is not built through performance. It's built through presence. That quiet kind. The kind that says, I'm not here to earn my place with you. I'm here with you. Because when you're performing, she feels observed but not known. She feels managed, not met. And beneath the surface, something in her starts saying, He wants me to react well more than he wants to actually connect. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. She tells you she had a hard day. You jump in with stories, advice, jokes, fixes, and some polished line meant to shift the vibe. The connecting version sounds like this. She says, "Today was rough." And you say, "Yeah? What hit you the hardest?" Then you stay there. You don't rush the silence. You don't make it about your usefulness. And her brain quietly registers, he actually heard me this time. That matters more than most men realize. That's when your partner stops feeling like someone you need to win over and starts feeling like someone you can really come home to. 5. Making her responsible for your worth. Man, this one is big, maybe the biggest, because this is where love quietly turns into labor. Most couples don't notice when this shift happens. Most people in relationships slowly hand their emotional center to the other person, one piece at a time. Your confidence depends on how warm she is. Your mood depends on how responsive she is. Your sense of self depends on whether she seems impressed, affectionate, or fully available that day. But here's the deeper truth. The moment she feels like she has to keep proving your value to you, attraction starts to collapse. Not because she's heartless, because no one wants to be turned into someone else's oxygen. This isn't about never needing support. This isn't about becoming emotionally closed off. This isn't about pretending you don't care. This is about having a self that exists even when she's having an off day. The disconnecting version sounds like this. "I just need to know you still want me. Why don't you compliment me like you used to? You've been different. It's messing with me." The connecting version sounds like this. "I've been feeling off lately and I'm working through it. I'm not putting that on you, but I want to be honest about where I'm at." That's grounded. That's emotionally available. That's a man who can tell the truth without making her carry it. And when you do that, she feels your strength not as distance, but as safety. 6. Falling apart in conflict. And here's what changes everything. Interest is not tested most when things are easy. It's tested when there's friction. Because conflict reveals what kind of emotional home you actually are. Most couples either escalate or disappear. Most people in relationships only know two speeds when they feel hurt: attack or withdraw. They get louder, colder, sharper, or they shut down so hard the room goes emotionally dark. But the real truth is this. What looks like just an argument to you can feel like total relational instability to her nervous system. And if every conflict makes her feel like connection is about to collapse, she starts bracing before you even open your mouth. Not louder conversations, not better debating skills, not one more communication hack from the internet, but two people who feel safe enough to stay emotionally intact while telling the truth. That's maturity. That's repair. That's real. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. "Why are you always doing this? Forget it, whatever." Or the classic silent shutdown that says, "I'm here physically, but you can't reach me now." The connecting version sounds like this. "I'm getting activated, and I don't want to say this from that place. Give me 10 minutes and I'm coming back." Or, "I hear the point you're making. I'm reacting to how it landed, but I want to understand it better." Something in her starts saying, "He's not perfect, but he's staying with me." And honestly, that creates more connection than 100 smooth words ever could. That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. 7. Living from fear instead of from center. This is the deepest layer, and if you miss this, you miss the whole thing. Because every pattern we've talked about comes from the same root. You stop relating from your center and start relating from fear. Most couples never name it this clearly. Most people in relationships think the problem is texting habits, chemistry, timing, communication style. But beneath the surface, the real issue is often this. One person is no longer showing up from wholeness. They're showing up from hunger. And hunger changes your energy. It makes you monitor instead of trust, perform instead of connect, cling instead of choose. It turns love into a constant emotional audit. Where do I stand? Is she still in? Are we okay? And the more you live there, the less room there is for connection, play, polarity, mystery, and real desire. Because a woman can feel when you want to share your life with her. And she can feel when you need her to become your life. Those are not the same thing. So the disconnecting version sounds like this. You walk into every interaction trying to read the temperature, avoid mistakes, keep her close, and make sure nothing feels uncertain. The connecting version sounds like this. You show up as yourself, present, open, interested, but not collapsing, not bargaining, not begging the moment to reassure you. And her inner world starts saying, I can breathe around him. Bro, that feeling is everything. That's when interest comes back online. Not because you became more impressive, because you became more real. The close. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. The thing that makes a woman lose interest fastest is not your kindness, not your feelings, not your vulnerability. It's when your energy says, I need you to keep me okay. Because the moment love turns into emotional caretaking, attraction starts to suffocate. But when you learn how to stay rooted in yourself while still being open, honest, and emotionally available, everything about your connection changes. You stop grasping, you stop performing, you stop making every shift mean something catastrophic, and you become the kind of partner whose presence feels steady, safe, and deeply easy to be close to. This isn't a checklist, it's an identity shift. It's the difference between reacting from fear and relating from wholeness. And when you internalize that, she will feel the difference before you even finish your sentence. These aren't tips for getting her back on the hook. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of man real connection can actually live inside.